Good morning, this is Kelley Hobart from Alpaca Direct, and I'm so happy to be here with you today on Election Day. So those of you who have not gone out and vote, make sure you vote because, you know, it's our right as citizens and we might as well have that honor of being able to help decide our future. And so I already voted, and I voted mine early voting, so I didn't have to worry about it today. But yes, I've been watching TV and I'm very anxious to see what's going to be going on. So we'll see later on tonight, huh? So what I'm going to be talking about today is I'm going to be talking about different habits that we can use or employ to make our knitting and crochet even better. And these are ways that I have used, methods, should I say, that I've used that have helped me become a better knitter. And I thought I'd share them with you because some of them are, you know, kind of cool little tricks. And I have new knitters that come into the store all the time. Matter of fact, I had a knitter just a few days ago, and she came in and said, "Is there any way that we could record our projects? Do you sell anything like that?" And I said, "No, I don't sell anything, but go to Ravelry.com and sign up there, and you can keep your notebook there, and you can keep very detailed notes as well as pictures while you're knitting your projects. And then if you ever need to make them again, you'll know what yarn you used, what size needles, and all of that good stuff." And I cannot stress how valuable that is. And you can also help others because other people can view what you've done with your projects, and if you've had any difficulties, you can avoid future difficulties for other people, which is totally awesome. I think that's cool. So let me talk about our prize for this week. And the prize for this week is some nice little alpaca ankle socks. And I know a lot of people just love ankle socks, but they're super warm. And these are like 54% alpaca, and they are machine washable. I always say to save my socks from the dryer, because if you don't dry them in the dryer, they last a lot longer. And so since we love our alpaca socks and we want them to last forever, you want to do that. And the way that you sign up to be eligible to win a prize is you put comments in the comment section, you share with friends, and you maybe even post pictures about what you're working on so that we can learn from you too. So I love looking at all your pictures and learning from you, and I've already learned so much just by doing this Facebook Live. It teaches me a lot just having to repeat all these different skills out loud, and then I am able to remember it much easier. Last week our prize winner won some wonderful, these are called Extreme Boot Socks, and they are totally awesome. They're full terry throughout the whole sock. And so for those of you who do not knit socks and have cold feet, or maybe it's snowing in your area, like here it will be snowing soon, I'm sure, and these alpaca socks are invaluable. We all love them. So you can look on our website at alpacadirect.com to look at the different selection of socks that we have available. But we have really nice alpaca socks. They're so wonderful. I love them. That's how I got into the actual alpaca thing, other than it was my daughter's 4-H project as well. So I wanted to talk to you about a few projects that I was working on this week, and maybe a few things that I learned along the way. So we've been doing this match play cowl with Michelle Hunter, and I told you before, she was a teacher for 30 years. And then she learned to knit, and she retired, and this is Michelle in the picture, and this is the match play cowl poncho that we have been making, and I'm almost done with mine. I wanted to be able to wear it today, and I just wasn't able to finish it. A little too many yards of knitting, of yarn to use up. So anyways, I will have it done soon. And the thing about this match play cowl is it's free, and you can find it, it's a download that you can download on Ravelry, and you can join in it. She teaches you a ton of skills, and this poncho has I-cord, bind off, and a bunch of different skills, and she has little YouTube videos to support each one of the new skills in here. So for beginning knitters could easily do this project. And we knit it with the beautiful Sueno, and here's 3 different colorways that we have on our website, and this is a wool, merino wool and bamboo blend, and it is fantastic. So if you haven't tried this yarn, it's totally lovely, and I've really enjoyed doing this match play cowl. So this actual piece right here is the back of my poncho, and I just did the dot pattern. And when I was doing this, a couple of things that I was wanting to make sure to avoid was to not have garter stitch on the bottom that was warped looking. And garter stitch on the bottom can get that warped look if it's knit at the exact same gauge. And if you look at this garter stitch right here, it does not look warped. And what I did is I used a smaller needle. You can also do another thing, and that is remove like 5% of your stitches. Like, don't cast on about 5% of your stitches, and then just add them in on the first knit row. Now, I think this one, it was just perfectly acceptable to just use a needle that's one size smaller than what you're going to be knitting with, and it kept it from being warped. But if you still find that it's being warped, you could even use 2 needle sizes smaller. There's always options. You can give it a try and see if it works for you. But those are things that I've done in the past, and this poncho is really lots of fun to do, and I'm almost done. I'm on my number 6 skein of yarn, so the pattern called for 8, and I am going to be well under the amount that they called for in the pattern. Another project that is going to be coming up here on November 17th, for those of you that are local, this wonderful shawl by Megan Jones. It features lace work on both the right side and wrong side rows. So if you have never done lace work where you did lace work on both the right and wrong sides, this might be a class that you could do. I would definitely say no one less than an intermediate knitter should take this class. No beginners probably, but it is a beautiful pattern, and Megan Jones is a fantastic teacher. So if you wanted to take classes on Alpaca Direct, or you live locally, you could look on our Facebook group, and there's events there, and if you find a class that you like and a time that works for your schedule, you can call us at alpacadirect.com and we can get you set up for a class. Another project that I finished this week was my husband's slippers. This is called the Miss Hupp slipper pattern, and so I'm working on little projects for Christmas projects. So that's
Cute.
Mrs. Hupp slipper pattern, and what it features is it's all in one piece, and you cast on with the magic loop method, and then it has the squishy interior that all knit stitches, no purl bumps that you have to stand on. So these make fantastic slippers. These haven't been, one of them has been blocked and the other one has not, so they're not quite completely done yet, but they're mostly done. And then you saw this last week when I was showing you my this pattern. It's called Winterberry Mitts, and that was, who was this one by? It is by Jennifer Brow, and it's actually fingerless mitts, and I made this pattern into gloves. Mittens, sorry. And so I thought that was pretty fun, so I finished those, and those French knots were really nice little accent to it. I like that one. And let's see here.
So Kelley, Jim is saying hello from Denmark.
Hi, Jim. That's my honey. He is working very hard. He is also teaching this week and next week. And so I am all by myself holding down the fort. So yes, I am missing him very much.
And Patricia from Florida.
Hi, Patricia. Good morning. It's nice talking to all of you.
And everybody else.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah, so I have been busy as a bee working on my knitting. My honey is gone, so it's a little quiet around the house. So I'm getting lots of knitting done. Yeah, so, and I'm just working on Christmas presents and all kinds of stuff. Okay, so now another project that I was working on is this 1898 hat and a little brioche at the top. And I was working on the center double decreases in brioche, and it involves 5 brioche stitches where you go from 5 stitches down to 1. And it is quite the project, and I was trying to write it down. Whenever I have a hard time visualizing what they're doing, I will take it and kind of simplify it as much as I can on paper, and then I'll take this recipe and try and do it over and over until I can understand exactly what it is that they're doing. And so I do use a paper and pencil. It helps me if I write it down to mentally understand what I'm doing. And so you'll often see me do that. Also with Evie, when I was making her hats, I only had what I could, Google as far as hat sizes. So I took out a tape measure. I watched her this last Saturday night. She stayed overnight with me. And I took my pencil, and again, I took her name and her age. And then I took all these measurements. So her head is 18 inches around. And from the ear to the top of her head is 4.5 inches. And her foot is 3.75 inches long. Her waist is 18 inches. Her chest is 16. Her arm length is 9 inches. Her waist to her foot length is 11 inches. That's in case I want to do leggings. And so all this data I wrote down while I had her with me, right? And I have come to the conclusion that I was making her hats way too small. I mean, 18 inches around is almost the adult size. An adult size head is anywhere from 20 to 22 inches. So you can see how I was making my hats way too small. So now I'm like, oh, well, I got to make them much bigger. So now I'm making them bigger. But I'm looking at this 1898, and I kind of want to take this back and start over again, because it's not exactly the way I want it. Anyways, I'll show it to you in the future as I get it done. But I'm still working on that. I'm still working on those, the decreases at the top of the hat. And what it's going to do is make little flowers, and so in brioche. And I thought that was kind of cute. So I will be doing that. And I also did learn, and let me see if I can show you on one of these what I'm talking about, because I have been practicing the decreases, but I want to show you. Let's see here. This is basically, do you see how they're coming up here? Right here? That is one of the decreases that I did. And so, anyways, but it's not that easy. It's hard for me to see, and if you have to go backwards, it's a little bit hard. But although I'm getting much better at taking brioche out, I am not afraid to take stuff out. If I have a problem, I just rip it. And I figure, you know what? The worst thing that's going to happen is I get to reuse the yarn. Free practice, it's all good. We're all fine. So don't be afraid to rip your projects out or take them back. Don't think of it as wasted time. Think of it as a learning experience.
I have to remember that.
Yes, that's what I do, and I actually enjoy creating stuff. So I'm sitting on the computer going, what can I do? What can I learn? And I take all these different things, and I'll use one technique from one thing and another technique from another, and I can just pick up yarn and start knitting, because I'm just messing around trying to, think I want to create this. Yeah, well, I'll use this little piece from this pattern and that and whatever. And then I've made my own project. So when we're talking about habits that we can use to improve knitting and crochet skills, some of the things that I personally have tried to do for myself is try to finish 1 to 2 projects a week. Okay? I don't really care how many pieces I have on my needles. As long as I can store them neatly in my spare bedroom, all is well. Other than that, I don't really care. I just want to finish 1 or 2 items per week, right? And then when you're first learning to knit or crochet, I tell my students, practice daily. Practice daily. Because if you don't practice every day when you're first learning, you go 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that is not cool. We want to always be going forward. And so practice daily when you're beginning. And I had a begin to knitter yesterday. Okay, she came in. She's done a couple of hats, right? And she did it at the Lamb's Pride Bulky, and it was pretty stiff. And so what I did is I took 3 different hats that were in the store, and I said, feel this hat, feel that hat, and feel that hat. Do you feel a difference between what you're knitting and these? Just so she could start to understand that she needed to jump up a needle size, and she would have made something that was a lot more, because you want to have your goal be to have squishy, lovely, cushy fabric when you're done, because what you're actually doing is making fabric, right? So you want it to be squishy and lovely. But if you go too small on your needles, oh, and that also reminds me that when we're knitting projects, even with this match play cow, right? She recommended a certain amount of stitches at a certain gauge. I can't tell you how many people were saying they couldn't get gauge. And I'm sitting here thinking, I don't care if I get her gauge. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do my gauge, take out my calculator, and divide the stitch count by the how many stitches I have, and get my actual how many inches wide is it going to be, and then I'm going to take a tape measure and measure across and see how far I want it to go down. I'm going to make my own gauge. I'm not going to get stressed because she is saying that you need to be in this box. You know, it's all just kind of a estimate or whatever. You don't have to follow things exactly. Even on her, if you look at hers, doesn't it look kind of big on her? Looks kind of big on her. Anyways, so for those of you who want to learn from her, you can just take the dot repeats. She has the recommendation here if you want to make it smaller, what to do. So you can just follow that recommendation and make it smaller. So don't get locked into patterns and don't think you can't change it, because you can change anything. I haven't found anything that I can't change. I don't think there have been very few patterns ever that I have ever knit according exactly to pattern. I really haven't. I don't.
So do you prefer the straight needles or the circular needles?
I love circular needles. I try to get even begin to knit students, I try to get them over to the circular needles, well, right off the bat, pretty much. You know, they're right after their very first scarf, I put them right on to circular needles doing the magic loop method, and they're successful. It's not that hard, and especially since they don't know anything else and they're starting from scratch, so their brain is a blank slate. So I just figure, you know what, I'll just teach them magic loop right off the bat, and they do it. And so, yeah, I really like the circular needles. Part of my problem is I'm kind of short, so I'm kind of close to the table when I'm working. So if I have the needles, my needles are hitting the table. Not a good, it's not comfortable. So that's why I like the circular needle.
That makes sense.
Yes. Okay. And then another thing that I would encourage all of you out there that don't know how to read patterns, get help. Go get help in learning. If you can use YouTube, use YouTube. Get help and learn how to read patterns, because if you don't know how to read patterns, you're limiting yourself, because there are some very creative people out there that are making beautiful patterns, and many of them are free. So why wouldn't you learn how to read a pattern? So if you don't know how to do something, get help and learn how to do it. Tell yourself, oh, that brings me to another thing. When you guys are working on your knitting, be careful about your self-talk. I can't tell you how many people out there that are telling themselves over and over, I can't do it, I can't do it. And you're like, yeah, you're probably right. If you're telling yourself you can't do it, you won't be able to do it. So tell yourself, I can do it, I will do it, and I'll find someone else who knows how to do it, and I'll have them teach me.
You're inspiring me right now.
Yes, I mean, I've learned how to, you know, in my life, I guess when I was growing up, we lived out in the country, and I learned how to use the chainsaw. I learned how to use the, you know, compound miter saws. I've never limited myself to any of the tools. I've learned how to do anything that I want to. I mean, I've even hung sheetrock, and I could barely lift it. That was the hardest part, getting it up onto the wall. But, you know, I could figure it out, you know. So anyways, try not to limit yourself, because there are a lot of things in life that could limit you, and you don't want to be one of those things that keep yourself from succeeding. You don't want to put yourself down. So bring yourself up. Tell yourself you can do it. Another thing that I was thinking about is there are a ton of people out there that like to use notebooks and write in notes, like these kind of notes, in a regular, like keep just a regular notebook, you know, with these kind of notes, and then you have a record of them. And they put like the date or what pattern it was that they're working on. And I think that's an excellent idea. Anything that helps you retain and remember and be able to go back to it and look at it is very useful. Really, really useful. Also, you want to look for projects that are teaching you new skills. With my new knitter that I was talking to yesterday, she is doing the same hat and she's now getting ready to do it a third time. And it's like, let me find you a different pattern so it has a different skill that you might learn. And she's like, but I'm comfortable with these hats. So it's like, no, you need to learn something new. So I helped her get a new pattern. So that is something to think about too. If you would like to learn, pick a new pattern. It'll teach you something new. Yeah, and that's totally awesome. So you guys, make sure as we're going along to post comments in the comment section. Let us know what you're working on. Give us pictures. We love looking at your beautiful pictures. Oh my gosh, there are so many talented knitters out there. I'm just in awe by all of you guys. And I aspire to be like many of you. Anyways, these are the N20s, or extreme boot socks as we call them on our website at Alpaca Direct. And this was the prize for this last week, and the winner was Kyla Day. Kyla Day, you just won some N20s. So all you have to do is get in touch with us. You can email us and let us know your shipping address, and we can get this out in the mail to you. But you're gonna love these.
Well, if she doesn't want them, I'll sure take them.
I'm telling you, they're fantastic. I use them, and when I'm really cold, I'll sleep in them at nighttime. Well, I almost always end up having to take them off because otherwise I kick my covers off. Anyways, you know how it is. And then the prize for this week is for some lovely ankle socks that you could wear when you're running. We're still running outside. Not any snow yet. When it starts snowing, I quit running outside because I don't want to fall.
Good idea.
But other than that, I go ahead and still run outside because the fresh air is beautiful, and I put on a lightweight little jacket, and once you get going, it's really not that cold. And I do put gloves on my hand and to keep my hands warm. And so that I just love going outside. So you guys will love those socks. Enter the comments in the comment section and you can enter for a chance to win. Now, another thing I wanted to talk to you about. Oh, you guys, if you get a chance to, don't miss an opportunity to join a knit or crochet group. And here at Alpaca Direct, we do have open knitting groups on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays, and on Thursdays, and they're free to the public. So if you look on our Facebook group, you can figure out what times might work for you. And if you live locally, you could join in with us. We love company. It's fun. We like new friends. Exactly quiet. Yeah, bring your social knitting. Don't bring your hard stuff, because otherwise you'll work on it here and then go home and take it all out because you messed it up. But it's all good. It's totally fun. So I'm looking here to make sure I didn't miss anything. Don't forget to vote, you guys. You all need to be voting. We have to have some influence in what goes on in our government and our communities around us, and that's a great way to do it. Also, a very interesting thing, totally off the wall, different, totally sidetracked, but I don't know how many of you guys have used Zauberball and Zauberball Crazy. Have you used Zauberball and Zauberball Crazy? If you have, put comments in the comment section and let us know. The Crazy seems to be more colored. It is I don't know, it is more highly colored. The colors on the regular are a little bit more subdued, although these are both pretty loud colors. But I wanted to tell you that the regular Zauberball is a single ply. Do you see that? It's a single strand of yarn on there. And the Crazy is a 2-ply, so it's a plied yarn. So if you wanted to make socks, I would recommend the Zauberball Crazy because it's a plied yarn and it's very pretty. I really, really like Zauberball, and the way that it stripes out, it's one of those yarns that stripes out almost nicer than any other yarn on the market. It's really gorgeous. So if you needed long colorway stretches, Zauberball's the way to go with your projects. I'm trying to think of what else is going on. Oh, this Megan Jones shawl class is on November 17th again. Whoops, getting hung up. And like I said, Megan Jones is for intermediate knitters, and it is a totally beautiful shawl that you get to make. I'm looking forward to her. She is fantastic. A great, great teacher, and she'll be here on the 17th. And I think that we are pretty good. Let me announce one more time the winner, Kyla Day, and she won the wonderful, fantastic Extreme Boot Socks. So that is such a treat. And I think I have everything. The one thing that we're going to be talking about next Tuesday, we're going to talk about terrific tips for storing your stash and your knitwear projects. So I'm going to be giving you some different ideas that you can use to store your projects efficiently. So we'll talk about that next week at 9:30 a.m. All of you go out there and vote, and I will be visiting with you next week. You take care.